While Panama is a beautiful tropical country located in Central America, it is not ideal for everyone. Today we're going to break down who should not move to Panama. You should not move to Panama if you are broke or have a low income. Why is that? Out of all the countries there are in Latin America, Panama is actually one of the most expensive countries in whole Latin America. Unlike a place like Paraguay, where you can rent a studio or one-bedroom apartment for as little as $300 to $400 a month, the same apartment would cost at least double in Panama City. Panama City is not for the broke. In fact, Panama itself is not for the broke. If you have a low income, let's say your income is just, $1,000 a month or $1,500 a month, you may not have sufficient income to survive in Panama. Sure, you can always get by on little money and maybe even as little as $1,000 a month in Panama. You won't be living a middle class life. You won't have a decent life with just $1,000 a month. It's just not enough. Even in Paraguay, $1,000 a month is not very comfortable. Yeah, you can live, you can rent a decent studio one-bedroom apartment, you can go out to eat, but you're not going to live like a king on $1,000 a month. You need a lot more than that. Panama is not a dirt cheap country. Costa Rica and Panama are some of the most expensive countries in whole Latin America, but they have become very popular because of the close proximity to the United States and Canada. You can get there by plane in just 2 to 5 hours, which is a lot quicker than if you were to fly down to South America to, say, Paraguay, Uruguay, or Argentina. More than 10 years ago, Panama was a lot more affordable than it is today, and it was in fact a good place to buy real estate. Today, real estate prices in Panama are actually quite expensive. So if you want to qualify for residency by real estate investment, then you have to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into Panamanian real estate. Sure, the value has gone up. However, chances of prices appreciating a lot more are actually quite thin. You're not going to get 100 to 300% ROI in just 5 to 10 years. Had you invested 10, 15 years ago, you would have probably doubled your money by now. Also, groceries, dining out, electricity are a lot more expensive in Panama than other countries. Panama is sort of self-sufficient. When it comes to food, energy, Panama is not the cheapest of countries. Sure, you can cut your living costs by anywhere from 30 to 60% by moving out of the United States or Canada and into Panama. However, you're not going to be able to cut your living costs by 80%. You're not going to get 20 cents on the dollar in Panama. In Paraguay, you can get 20 to 30 cents on the dollar. Likewise, in countries like Thailand, Malaysia, or Vietnam, you can get 20 to 30 cents on the dollar. In Panama, you can't. So if you expect a dirt cheap lifestyle, then Panama is just not for you. You should not move to Panama if you don't have a stable income. What do I mean by that? Well, there are many jobs offered by international companies in Panama. Chances of you earning a middle class or upper middle class income in Panama are not that great. Many Panamanians live on as little as $1,000 to $1,500 monthly, which is definitely a very tight budget for life in Panama. It's not enough to live comfortably. Most Americans and Canadians who settle down in Panama are either retired, so they rely on Social Security or a pension, or they have location-independent income, which allows them to live anywhere in the world by utilizing the same amount of money that they made back home. If you are lucky enough to be Canadian and you decide to relocate to Panama and surrender your Canadian tax residency, you may not have to pay any taxes in Panama at all, because Panama does not tax your foreign sourced income. Sure, locally sourced income is taxed in Panama, be it income from a Panamanian corporation that generates money from within Panama, or let's say you have employment income, you work for a Panamanian corporation, or you have a rental property that generates income in Panama, you would have to pay taxes on all of these types of income. But if you have income from abroad, say from Canada, the UAE, Europe, potentially America, you would not have to pay taxes on that income when living in Panama as a Canadian. If you're an American, you're going to have to pay taxes to the US government no matter where you live, unless of course you are lucky enough to qualify for the foreign earned income exclusion and your taxable amount does not exceed the threshold set during a given year. So having a stable income is a prerequisite to living not only in Panama, but pretty much anywhere in the world. So if you don't have a stable income and say you want to find a job in Panama, sure, you can go to Panama, live there, and probably live there happily, but you're not going to make the same money that you used to make back home. But since living costs are much lower in Panama than in Canada and the US, you may have a much better quality of life living in Panama. You have warm tropical weather year-round. You can cut your living costs by 30 to 60%. Plus, you have tropical beaches everywhere. Next, you should not move to Panama if you don't like tropical weather and humidity. Oftentimes people have the illusion that living in a tropical country will resolve all their problems. It will resolve some of your problems, especially if you are looking to leave Canada or the US to start a new life in Panama, right? You want to get out of the bad weather. Likewise, if you're from Northern Europe or Central Europe or Southern Europe even, it's going to be much warmer in Panama year-round. You're looking at very high humidity, high temperatures, and a different lifestyle than you're accustomed to. Southern Florida offers the closest lifestyle that you can get. Obviously, Southern Florida is a lot more expensive than Panama. But I'm just saying, if you have the idea of living in a tropical country like Panama, leaving the bad weather behind, go ahead and do it. If high temperatures and humidity make you tired, or if the summers in your current location are too much for you, then chances are Panama will be difficult for you, because high humidity leads to you sweating a lot, it leads to you not exercising as much outdoors. Sometimes it can lead to breathing issues. However, for the majority of people, high humidity and high temperatures are okay. If you are from a southern state, then immigrating to Panama would be very doable. You are accustomed to high temperatures. Since you stayed until the end of the video, I wanted to give you a final reason why you should not move to Panama. 4, you should not move to Panama if you don't like Panamanian culture, if you don't like Latino culture. Panamanian culture is very different than American culture. It is very different than Canadian culture. It is very different than Australian culture. It is very different than European culture. The temperament, the communication, the warmth, everything is different, which makes Panama an ideal place for a Westerner to immigrate to. Because people are closer and more welcoming in Panama, you will have a much easier time moving to Panama than you would have moving to Russia, most probably. So because of that, Panama makes perfect sense for many people, including Americans and Canadians. Now, if you're interested in relocating to Panama and securing residency, please book a consultation with me. Go to nomadelite.com and click on book a consultation. I look forward to advising you on the best residency programs in Panama. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your attendance and I look forward to welcoming you to Panama.